Now we're starting at 30 seconds of silence.
You'll get it one day. One day you'll get it.
Right.
Oh, 30 seconds of silence.
Yeah.
Wait, 30?
Pound the beer
Not
before
anymore.
the show started. Now you can't drink
Could I
on the show.
at least get 10 seconds?
I was already thirsty before the show started.
You ruined it.
Oh, Doxy's a thirsty chick. Okay.
Twerk, 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 twerk.
Doxy's ratchet.
Twerk, twerk, twerk,
You guys,
twerk.
seriously, I just need like 10 seconds. Okay, stop.
No, let's shoot for 30.
Hey, man, I'm ready when you guys are. Okay, ready?
Did you get 10 seconds?
No, of course I didn't get 10 seconds.
We're going to shoot for 30.
Okay, 30 seconds.
Everybody silence their phones.
Tell me when you're ready.
Hello, everybody. My name is Master Chen.
My name is BGM.
This is Doxy.
I'm Cheronobyl over here.
And Simon.
And Simon's back with us, and you're listening to Gray Noise, where our noise is news.
Is that a thing?
That's a thing.
Is that what we do?
Okay, a couple more seconds. All right, what do you guys want to talk about today? Actually, there's a couple things I want to talk about today.
Go ahead.
I'm still alive.
Okay, well, so yeah, we'll get to
We
Chernobyl.
should talk about the missing Chernobyl too.
Okay,
Welcome back, Chernobyl.
Really quick
Welcome
though, we're doing a couple of things differently. So if we can all wave to the camera, we're actually doing our first YouTube live stream right now.
I also want to point out, I thought it was funny that you counted down like silently when we're going to start the episode, even though you lead us into the episode.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a habit.
It's very confusing.
Yeah.
I wanted to let
I was
someone
like,
steal it.
Do you want me to lead? Because I was
No,
leaning into
I'll do
lead.
it. I'll do it. Okay.
So, is this live on YouTube right now?
We are live on YouTube right now.
Hello,
so,
I like it.
YouTubers.
hi, YouTubers.
I like
Now,
it.
if you're listening to our
celebrities.
podcast, you then are, I guess,
day-
hours,
you're-
days, minutes, or
You're a couple
weeks
days behind.
Yeah.
You're a couple days behind.
So hello, future listeners, and hello, present you listeners, which I think is all one of you right now.
I believe,
It's a pretty cool one.
I believe this will be archived on our YouTube channel.
It's
forever.
Zenify, can you check that? It is archived. Okay,
We
cool.
have our fifth member Zenify behind the camera
Yeah,
right now.
our fifth member is behind the camera. He's also our fact checker. Zenify's over there.
I
So
could switch it to my laptop webcam, but I haven't tested that out, so I'm not going to do it.
Okay.
okay,
alright.
we'll
Guys, I have a
Zenify
question.
said
Will this
he
be
could switch
archived
it to his
forever?
laptop webcam. but
probably
he's not gonna try it.
Simon. Yes. Okay, so now we are we're testing this out. This is just to see how well we do. And
So it's like porn. Once it's on the internet, it will always be
It's
there.
always going to be there.
Pretty much how everything
wish
else
this,
Our
I wish
grandchildren
this
are
was
going to
porn.
watch this video.
I wish this was
you
porn.
wish this was porn with Five
Don't
Guys.
think you.
Hello,
yeah.
grandkids.
Hey, look, Five Guys.
Hey,
Remember, this is when your grandpa was cool.
Somebody's into it.
Okay, so now we've got the live stream announcement out of the way. We've got kind of a lot of things going on, actually. Behind us, if you want to, or I don't know if you can see, but behind us, we're actually, we've got Crux and Vic and Jing making the Darknet badges for DEF CON, so that's cool.
When is DEF CON?
Darknet Challenge.
Yeah, the
It's in
Darknet
2
Challenge.
weeks.
It's in 2 weeks, actually. If you want,
I'm
go to
so excited.
dcdark.net. Okay, dcdark.net. Check that out. It's a pregame before we actually get to DEF CON, and I can't wait. DEF CON's 2 weeks away. I'm speaking on Sunday. There's a lot to look forward to.
Wait,
So,
you're speaking on this Sunday.
no.
No.
This is your
Sunday,
practice.
this Sunday.
Yeah,
practice.
I'm doing
Okay.
I'm doing a rough draft this Sunday, but at the con it's going to be Sunday at I believe 10 a.m.
Okay.
Gotta double check that. But anyway, let's go ahead and move on. So
I want to talk about what happened to Chernobyl.
yeah, sure.
Oh, okay. So, I disappeared for a while because
Yeah.
I was hit by a car.
Yeah.
I was.
You're on a motorcycle.
That
I'm
sounds
a
like a great
motorcyclist. I was. I stopped at a red light. The light turned green, so I said, "Okay, I'll start going." And someone didn't stop at their red light, blew straight through it, and hit me going 55. Woo! I flew through the intersection, broke a couple toes, bled a lot, got some nerve damage, but altogether not that bad considering getting hit by a car.
Now you're like a superhero.
Yeah,
No big
and
deal.
The thing I like to tell people is that I might have broken two toes, but I broke their whole car. That thing had to be towed away.
Hey, how's your
doesn't
bike?
run
That's
anymore.
awesome.
How's your bike though?
Totaled.
Are you secretly a superhero?
Not secretly.
Not anymore.
Not anymore.
So did your helmet take damage too as well?
Yeah, I did. All my stuff is
Now,
scrapped.
when your helmet takes damage, and like you can't wear that again.
Once your helmet hits the ground, even dropped from like hand height, it's trash.
Yeah.
Because it deforms on purpose to cushion the impact.
Yeah, that's what I've heard before.
Yeah. So
that's-
never reuse a helmet and never buy one secondhand.
Hey, there you go.
I actually didn't know that. That's good advice.
Very good.
All right, guys. Well, the first hack that I want to talk about is actually now we do this podcast on a Friday, so all the weekly stuff that happens like Monday, Tuesday, it's kind of old news, but we're still going to talk about it anyway. I kind of want to talk about the Ashley Madison hack.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, that was a fun time.
I knew
Yeah.
that would get Doxy's attention.
Yeah,
Why
I'm
me?
concerned.
I don't
I'm
know.
a
I don't
regular
know.
at that
You've seen
site.
the videos.
As a quick plug,
I'm a little bit excited about
as
it.
a quick plug, if you want to hear the news as it happens, talked about by the people here, just go to the IRC channel,
Yeah,
and you
pretty
can
much.
join the discussion.
There you go.
What's
Yeah.
our RC channel?
Good
Chad?
idea.
IRC is going to be on freenode.net, and it's going to be #GR3YNOISE. That's GR3NOISE.
You
with
forgot a Y.
GR3YNOISE.
Did I misspell it?
You typoed.
I typoed in real life.
Vocally type.
I vocally typo. Okay, so we're going to talk about the Ashley Madison hack. So basically, for those people who don't know, AshleyMadison.com got hacked, which is an adulterer's site. Basically, 37 million profiles.
That's what I thought. Yeah.
It's 37 million profiles that
But
got
how
leaked.
many of them are
Or
fake?
they're threatened. Well, we'll see. But they're threatened to be leaked, or about to be leaked, and expose a whole bunch of cheaters.
I think
the site.
I'm sorry.
Well, the site is specifically designed for adulterers, people who want to cheat on their wives. I mean, I can't.
Wives and husbands. Don't just say wives.
Oh, okay, sorry, wives and husbands. You're right. You're right.
And
It goes
partners.
It goes both ways.
And partners.
And partners.
partners.
And partners.
Okay.
I just think it's funny that these people are like, this hacker's gonna ruin my marriage, and like they're
Yeah.
already cheating in the first place.
Your marriage is already
I'm pretty
ruined.
sure your
The
marriage is
cheating
already
ruined
in
the
shambles.
marriage.
Yeah, your marriage is already ruined. Like,
Well, if they don't know, it's not ruined at all.
Maybe.
it's on the
I'm not
downslope.
gonna. I don't think ignorance is bliss when it comes to cheating.
You know, my biggest problem with this whole hack, though, is how many people have been like, oh, good. Like, so if a bunch of people have their personal information hacked about a site they're using, it's a good thing.
I
When a
never
bunch of celebrities get
I never
hacked.
said oh good.
Oh, no, I'm not saying you,
Because
but I'm saying people
any
have heard.
kind of breach of personally identifiable information,
Yeah.
PII, is bad. Is
Yeah.
not
Right.
a good
Well, I know
thing.
we would all agree with that, but I've seen plenty of people on Twitter and on Facebook and everything being happy about this hack, saying, "Oh, they're getting what they deserved." But
No.
Yeah, all of these
yeah.
people will be stoned now.
Yeah. Previously, when we had the whole instance with the celebrity nude scandal, that was horrible that this happened. Which, of course, both are bad. But my point is that there's a bad double standard here.
We can talk about the morals here, and I think that's probably where we're going to lean. The technical side of things actually was not that technical. I think it was a simple SQL injection that.
Are you kidding
Yeah,
me?
it was a simple SQL injection that got
Whoa!
this
Welcome
database.
back to
Did
1999.
anybody claim
More like
responsibility for
2011.
it?
The hacker group that claimed responsibility was called Impact.
Okay.
So
Oh, that's
you
a
know,
cool hacker group. That's a cool name for a hacker.
They are
Is our
making
hacker
an
group
impact.
Great Noise?
Yes.
if we
Is that our hacker group?
do anything, I don't know. Yeah, sure.
We
okay.
do stuff.
I don't think you'd
We
want
do-
to use
Bad
that
stuff,
as your
yeah,
hacker group
that's
name.
probably not a good
Because
idea.
you just
You're
said
right.
that
That's
you're going.
probably a good idea.
Our hacker group name is White Noise.
Oh,
White with a one.
Okay, there you go. So, okay, now what I want to do though is I want to actually explore the moral standing of this hack. So,
The morals as far as
well, okay, first of all, I don't condone cheating. I do not. But, however, because I'll be real. I've cheated and I've been cheated on. So I've
that's
been
not the
on both
focus of
sides.
this podcast.
No, but what I'm saying is, what gives any hacker the right or means to be a vigilante or a quote unquote who's making them authority to
By
do?
definition of them being a hacker, that's what they're. It's not what they're there for, but there is always that danger. We'll say.
I think the mentality is.
No, I'm asking.
I think the global mentality between all hackers is because we can.
Right.
yeah. And
And-
then-
so this wasn't morally driven. You
And,
don't think?
and if your site can be hacked
I'm
by
pretty sure the target was picked because of moral reasons.
I don't think so. I think it's a blackmail attempt. There's a ton of people on that site that they get the information of, and all of a sudden
Oh,
they
that's
can
actually-
blackmail
that's
these
actually a really
high-profile
good point.
members.
Yeah,
Do
that's
you
true.
remember the book we read, My Manipulation by Dr. Ha Lung?
Right.
I don't actually know if he's a doctor, but it said Dr. Ha Lung on the book, so I'm going to say that. In that book, he mentions a long time ago someone sent letters to a bunch of prominent individuals in Asia.
Oh, I remember.
and all the letter said was, "I know what you did. If you want to keep quiet, send money to this address."
And he got, like, thousands of
he got a
dollars
lot
back.
of money. Yeah, he got a lot of money, and it's just the threat of blackmail that can
Exactly.
make people quiver.
Well, did that hacker group actually issue any statement about the hack?
That's a good point, Ken.
To my knowledge, as far as the statement goes, it was pretty much like what Chernobyl says: is we have 37 million profiles. We're gonna leak it. I don't think they were asking for anything.
But I'm sure. I would think that the people who they are targeting, or like people that like high-profile people, they would individually say, "Hey, we
Yeah.
have your stuff." You know, like,
They know the people that are actually being
Right.
targeted.
They have their profiles, they have information, they have their pictures, they have all their, because that's credit card information, that's everything.
Now, do you think
That-
high-profile
yeah.
people hung out on Ashley Madison, like important
Oh,
people?
absolutely,
Maybe.
Probably.
absolutely.
I think the targets would either be really high-profile people like politicians, whatever, they would be good targets for blackmail, or the whole Ashley Madison company, because this really fucks up their business.
That's true. I didn't think of the company as an entity that could be blackmailed itself.
It could, like, this whole outing of Ashley Madison could ruin the company. Because honestly, I never even heard of this site before it was hacked.
I feel like it's less for the company.
Clearly use AdBlock.
I feel like it's less for the company because you could just okay, so 37 million users. By sheer statistics, by sheer numbers, there have to be a number of high-profile, like maybe not senators or congressmen or whatever, but high-profile people, CEOs.
That's
they're
what I'm saying. I
definitely
mean,
there.
if you're a high-profile person, if you're a CEO, if you have a position of importance, are you really going to put your real name out on this cheating website?
Maybe not your real name, but your emails, your addresses, your credit cards.
Have you seen how inept some of these high-level people are? Like Hillary Clinton's email problems.
That's also true.
These people didn't grow up in a technological age, and they don't realize what the technological age means.
Well, I
for
mean, there's
information
a difference between knowing that password 1 is a bad password and cheating is a bad thing to do.
Well, they might know
Everybody
cheating is a
knows
bad
cheating
thing
is
to
a bad
do,
thing to do, but not everybody knows that
if a
password 1 is
so-called
a bad
computer
password.
expert tells them, "Hey,
You know,
your stuff's going to be safe with our website,"
I think,
Right.
this is, you can say this is a moral issue, but the point being, if you're going to do it online, you have to assume that it's public.
but we assume that because we know those things. And there's
Well,
people
Then
who
you know
don't.
what? There are people who have lessons learned. There's no
Yeah.
way that technology is going to go backwards. You have to learn and keep up.
Yeah,
This is
and
the
I know
world
that, but
we're
we-
living in now.
If you're 60 years old, you're a CEO, you're kind of at the end of your thing. You don't give a shit.
Kind of at the end
At
of
the
your
end of your
thing.
thing.
you don't give a shit. You're not like I better keep up on what password hacks are happening because they might compromise my whatever. You're like, hey, I have an easy way to get people, women or men or whatever I'm into, to cheat on my wife or whoever I'm with.
So do you think the main demographic of this website was 6-year-old CEOs?
I'm sure. I said
60-year-old
60.
CEO.
6-year-olds who are at the end of their thing?
I'm sure.
I mean,
I'm sure it was very varied in their their user base. I'm just saying, people who high-profile CEOs are usually older. They're usually older guys. Let's be honest. They're usually older guys,
I can agree with
and they don't know and they don't care. They're like, this is an easier way for me to get out there to women and like Backpage. Like that's a thing. Like people, call back. Hey, I want 2 girls when I come into
I
town.
mean, I guess they have a right to be outraged, but do they have a right to be surprised?
Wait, the people, the users,
They have a right to.
they
It just
don't have
doesn't
they,
mean that it's-
they don't have the right to be outraged. They don't have the right to be outraged.
I don't know. Okay, I don't side with cheating, but I think they have a right to be surprised that the servers could be breached so easily. and that
Right.
their
And
information
I was
could be
talking to
taken
Crux
so
earlier,
easily.
and yeah, like I said, it was simple. There was no protection. It was a simple SQL injection with
And
no
actually,
security.
actually, Madison, the site should burn just for that. Whoever their security person is needs to never have a job again, ever.
I don't say
think they
never,
have
but
one.
maybe he should go work for like PBS.
I mean, SQL injection is old tech.
Confidentiality is and was one of the main selling points of Ashley Madison. So, of course, the users have the right to be outraged because they said, nobody will ever know. And then if they don't do basic security shit, then you have to be outraged.
Okay,
And
so then,
that actually kind of
well, this goes into what we always talk about, though. It is the responsibility of the person who holds your information to secure it.
Well, yeah.
What Simon was talking about kind of brings me back to what you were mentioning. You were like, oh, people are outraged on social
Yeah.
media. I don't think they have the right to be or happy. People were happy
Yeah,
about this
they
hack on
should
social
not
media. I don't
have
think
the
they
right
have the right to be happy about it because they start taking this mentality where it's like a holier than thou sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
They don't
exactly.
cheat, so they are morally a better person than
And-
these other people. And I think that's wrong because these other people were still violated. They're still
Yeah.
people.
And I don't think it's more about the morally, but like the way I look at it is, it was Ashley Madison today. Tomorrow it's Facebook, and the next day it's Google Plus. And then
Exactly.
it just goes online. And if,
Right.
if it was them today, it's
Or
gonna-
iPhone cloud services.
It's going to be you tomorrow, and that's what you should, that's what you should really thinking about is how am I not secure now?
Yeah, I mean, call me empathetic, but I feel bad for these people.
I do
Yeah.
too. And the thing is, all these people who are like BGM said, the holier than thou crowd. It's like, yeah, that's because you weren't on that website. But if you're on another website that gets compromised in the same exact way, whether you be cheating or otherwise, you maybe again like Doxy was saying, tomorrow it's Facebook, and then it's Twitter,
And then it's
Google Plus. And then we're all, you know,
there's Tinder, there's Plenty of Fish,
Yeah.
and that's down the line. It's not like they can't be hacked. It's just waiting to happen.
And knowing also how these websites operate, I doubt they erase former user records. So maybe someone was a user at one point and they changed their ways, but they're still going to release that former user record.
Everybody knows Facebook doesn't delete your image.
What's
Even if
gonna
you
be-
hit delete, it's still on the server.
What's going to be aggravating is the people who are like, oh, well, it serves them right that they got caught in this and that or whatever, is that when a hack will happen to them, because we could say that it's going to be inevitable.
It's inevitable.
Yeah.
Right? So when a hack happens to them, they're going to be the same people that are like, woe is me, why isn't this secure, and you know, and the list goes on. It's very hypocritical with the way that people approach the security responsibility.
But it's the same. It's the same mentality that it'll never happen to me. That's all it is.
And
That's
I think
what we were
that's,
talking
I think
about
that's
a
the
couple weeks
scary
ago,
world
too.
that we're sort of entering now. Because like I was talking to my mom last week, and she had her credit card information stolen, and I just told her like that's just going to be a fact of life going forward for the next few years until they implement new, stronger security measures.
Oh, speaking of which, I went to Target yesterday, and guess what?
What?
They actually allowed me to
Chip
use
and
my
pin.
chip and pin
There
card.
you go.
Yeah, it
By the
was
way,
awesome.
Target is one of the first American companies to use chip and
I
pin.
wonder why.
Like I slid my
I wonder why
card.
too.
I slid my card as usual, and on the screen it said, "This is a chip and pin card. Please enter it into the chip and pin slot." I
That's
was like,
awesome.
"Oh my god, that's amazing."
I think there's also a legal issue because Ashley Madison in their marketing and advertising has created a perception that confidentiality is something that can be really expected by the users. And then if they don't do very basic security shit, it's almost like they failed to fulfill a duty that
That's
you
a
know
good point, yeah.
Right.
that they promised to
That's
to
their core-
provide.
Right,
Their
and,
core
and
business.
if people bought accounts or bought, I don't know if they.
Yeah, it's a
You
paid
have to
service.
pay for
It's a paid
It's a
service.
paid
You
service.
have
Okay,
to,
so
you have to
people, when people buy it, they enter into a contract saying that if Ashley Madison's
And
like, it's
I'm sure the
confidential, they have to stick
EULA
to
is,
that.
is what they're going to use to try and protect them, but even the EULA doesn't really hold up against a class action.
Yeah,
So
so
we all
this-
know that.
This
And-
might be the end of
and,
Ashley
the,
Madison.
and their
It
core
might
problem,
be-
their,
will be.
even if they
Madison.
never go through with pulling out all the info.
their core business is confidentiality. So if they can't do basic security,
Oh, you know, that
that's-
brings up a good point, though, what BGM just said is even if the leak doesn't actually happen, the business is ruined.
Yeah.
Right.
You don't have to actually leak something to ruin a business.
Because
No,
what-
that's
because
what-
what-
Just
what-
to
Well, I
put
don't
a
think
Trojan
the
horse
business is
inside that
ruined.
ball is enough to bring it down.
I don't think the business is ruined because, frankly, the market need for infidelity is still there.
But they're not gonna do
I
it the
think there's
same
been
way.
Maybe it
services.
won't be Ashley Madison, then it will be somebody else.
Right. So what I'm saying though is Ashley
Okay,
Madison as a
Keith,
business,
with the question mark.
Ashley Madison as a business is done. Okay.
and because
Probably, maybe.
No, it is done because what's going to happen is maybe somebody else takes that role and takes that responsibility of providing that service, but it's not going to be Ashley Madison. The thing is, if you read the 48 Laws of Power by Robert Greene, one of the laws is protect your reputation with your life, because once you
Yeah.
lose your reputation, it's done.
Yeah,
Except
Ashley
for-
Madison's
and-
reputation's been dragged.
There
down.
is the usual way to cheat out of this, which is they file for bankruptcy and sell to one of their other shareholders.
And rebrand.
Rebrand as a new
Rebrand.
name and they're done.
Although rebranding's not a bad thing.
No, it's not.
Great is
Hi.
friendly.
yeah, that's true.
I do want to, while we're on the subject, I do want to give you guys a hypothetical question, just to talk about the scope of what this could mean. What if tomorrow Twitter reveals that it was hacked and all of its users' information has been compromised? What do you think the fallout from that would be?
Oh well.
But see,
I don't think it'd be nearly as
No,
much
no.
because people don't hold as much personal information on Twitter.
Twitter,
They just-
Twitter's not
Twitter
like
is specifically designed to be outspoken.
It's
like
a broadcast.
It's a broadcast, right?
Now,
Exactly.
You have a
What
couple
would
of
be
direct messages,
interesting-
maybe, but that's it.
What would be really interesting is to hear that if Snapchat had actually been caching all images,
Yes.
Well, it's not. I'm talking about it in regards to Ashley Madison. It's not the fact that it doesn't matter if the information gets out or what information they take, but the fact that it was hacked. What do you think the fallout from that would be?
because with Twitter, there's no credit card information. There's really
well,
Oh wait,
I still think people would
looks
be
like
worried.
we have
though.
Vic wanting to make a comment.
I think you guys aren't understanding how desperate the clientele of Ashley Madison is.
between Twitter and Ashley Madison, those are two completely different markets. Anybody can have a Twitter just for
Yeah, but I think
saying stupid shit.
I think the point he raises is interesting because
Coffee
even though, on a objective standpoint, the hack of Ashley Madison is far more potentially damaging to all of its clients and to a far greater amount of people, the hack to Twitter would be far more outraging to the public. Even though there's almost nothing on there that they would lose, there would be a far
Do you
greater
think
amount
so?
of people mad.
Well,
Yeah.
I don't think so. I don't think so.
How many
I don't think
people
so.
use their Twitter password for
That's
every
what I
other
was about to say.
password?
Well, yeah,
People reuse passwords. I think that's where people are going to be outraged.
If you get somebody's Twitter account, you get their password to their Twitter account. If you
get
have
their
their
email.
password to their Twitter account, you most likely have their password to their email. If you have their password to their email, you most likely have access to every other thing they have access to.
You can start resetting bank passwords. You can get their other email accounts, their work email.
But I don't think people would even think about that. I don't think the general populace would think of that change. But I just think
Do
they'd
you
be
think?
outraged.
Do you think those people who are like, "Good, I'm glad these cheaters got hacked," would suddenly be, "Oh, woe is me"?
I think that's
I think
exactly
they
what would happen.
Again, they are hypocritical. It's hypocritical to be like, oh, well, haha, serves you right, and then it's like, oh, wait, my Twitter got hacked. Why
Well,
me?
no. Well, again, I think that's different. Like Ashley Madison, like Vic said, is a very desperate client. They are a specific kind of clientele. Twitter is like anybody has a Twitter. Kids have Twitters, yada yada, and they're just for
Which is
stupid, and that could be more damaging because.
I don't
Yeah,
think
basically some information is a little more sensitive than others.
I don't think
But
it's
with
sensitive.
Ashley Madison,
It's-
you've got. Okay, it's not as big as Twitter, but you've got credit card details. You've got.
Well, I mean,
Yeah, that's what
I
I'm
bring this
saying.
up every time something like this comes up. But I hope our listeners are know better than this by now. But a lot of people use the same password for everything.
Everything.
So if you get their Twitter password, if you hack Twitter, if you get their Twitter password, you had their bank info.
But
I
most
love that old
like,
XKCD where the guy just sets up a good service, and his trick is, I'm going to steal everyone's password by making a website that everyone wants to use, and they'll just give me them.
and
it's like a man in the middle.
I remember that strip. Yeah.
It's like a man in the
like
middle
Cheronobyl
kind of
said,
thing.
if Twitter were to be hacked or Facebook or whatever, people would be outraged. Oh, I can't believe the site wasn't secure, but they don't think of the chain reaction, how that affects all their other accounts because your Facebook is probably the most used everything by everyone, and if you get your Facebook, that's everything.
And like an interesting thing to like route back to what Master Chen said earlier about whether or not they have the moral authority to do this. That's kind of the point of being a vigilante, is that you become the moral authority. That's like the definition of the word is assigning yourself the judge, juror, and executioner.
Yeah, that's why I said
Very
like
good
like just by being a hacker, whatever they want to call themselves, they answer to no one. They are their own authority. If they deem it that they should do this, they're going to do that.
They have the same mentality as those people who are like, yeah, good for them, good for them. For
It's
hacking
very
these
much so
cheaters.
the spaghetti western.
Maybe, but we don't know. Maybe they were just bored and like, let's see what we can do, and they found an easy hack, and why not?
Honestly, I agree with. I forget if it was Simon who mentioned it, but I think it was purely financial. They just want to blackmail.
Yeah.
It could be that.
Or
But
like it could even be not that they were specifically targeting Ashley Madison for a financial blackmail, but they were just like trolling through sites trying to find someone that was weak.
Who
Poke,
Who's still compromisable through SQL injection?
Yeah, right.
who has their SSH port open? Who can I get into
Actually,
right now?
SQLI is not that uncommon. It's just this particular site had basic SQLI.
Comma or 1 equals 1.
Something like that.
So if you ran the database from Ashley Madison against was it GOS hack, GSO hack,
Oh, the
government hack?
Yeah.
Right.
Government hack. So if you compared those two databases,
OPM one.
yeah, what exactly would you come out with?
See, there you go.
Yeah.
There's another attack vector.
I have a feeling you would
You
get,
get
a lot
a couple
of
of
matches.
Oh yeah, and that was what we're talking about, high-ranking people or people who just don't want their information.
You know,
out
one
there.
interesting thing too that I think about with this is like with hacks like this, I wonder if there was a point where they weren't going to make it public. Like, I wonder if there's hacks that happen that we don't hear about because someone hacks a company, they contact the company, hey, this much, and we don't tell
Yeah,
anyone.
all the
I'm
time,
not-
especially in the financial sector.
here-
Banks.
I'm not
Here's something
ever
that-
going to admit to anything, but if I were to do a high-profile hack, I would do the hack. I would get the information, then I would share it with my compadres, and then figure out what the best thing to do with this information would
Well,
be
you guys-
before I come public.
Okay, you got to remember about when it comes to business too is that
I'm not condoning this behavior.
no, not at all.
Don't do this at home.
Now the thing is, when it comes to business, it's actually the CEO that is held personally responsible for any sort of information security breach. It's not the IT department. It's not the InfoSec department. It is the CEO.
Nobody
But
ever
the thing
mentions
is-
IT.
No, they don't. But the thing is, if a CEO was held personally responsible for your info security, don't you think they would be a little bit more paranoid about it or a little bit more careful with your information?
I don't.
I don't.
I think companies need to start getting
But you're
sued
talking
for this.
Because as CEOs they don't interact with the network security. They don't interact with the IT department.
matter-
beyond-
But wouldn't you make sure that it is well managed?
No matter
If you're personally responsible for it.
No,
no
because
matter
because
what
it's
level you're at, there's always going to be complacency.
I
and there's
agree,
and,
though.
and
I think
it's,
companies should start being sued for information leaks. If they leak information of their users, I think that they should be sued
They
for this.
absolutely should be held
Yeah.
responsible.
absolutely, but it's hands off. If nothing's going like in the big picture, I would assume nothing's going wrong at Ashley Madison. Their servers up and running, their databases work fine, everything's going well. So for the CEO, who gives a shit about the IT department? It doesn't even exist to them.
Yeah,
you know?
because right now,
because
exposing-
it doesn't exist until something like this
Right,
happens,
I
and
understand
then
what you're saying.
at that point it's too late.
Right. But with all these high-profile cases in the news, you don't think that CEOs that have not had that happen to them yet?
How would they
think
know?
Like, holy crap.
How would they know though? They
They're
would say, "Are you guys sure our database is secure?" Yeah, we've got redundancy.
You know how they would know? They would come to work one day and find a newspaper article on their seat.
Well, that's not the issue. The issue is that right now, the cost of getting your users' data exposed, the cost to businesses, the cost to this huge corporation is very, very low. There's no financial incentive for them to get really serious about security. That's why we're talking about that companies who are very negligent with their security need to start getting sued.
And that's the
Very
sad
true.
truth. I mean, was it last week we did the passwords episode, or 2 weeks ago? 2 weeks ago, right? Where we were talking about the strength of passwords. We were
That's a long
talking
time
Oh, that was
about.
a little while ago.
No, it was like 2 episodes ago. It was our first episode of
We
Great
probably
Noise.
revisited
moving
It was our
forward.
first episode of Great Noise. Anyway, when we were talking about that, I said that people unfortunately won't have the idea of changing their password until a hack happens to them, and it's the same thing in the corporate
Yeah.
world. They
Yes.
won't have the idea of improving their
Well,
security until a hack happens to
the
them,
thing
and by
with-
then it's too late.
It's out of sight, out of mind, because it's not exactly happening to them directly. So they're like,
Because
thing
those
is-
CEOs are complacent, they're like, you know what, the IT department's all right with
They're-
this.
they seem
they got a handle
Well,
on
they
it.
seem
And then when they
competent.
get hacked, it falls down on the CEO because they're the face of the
But
company.
the part of the reason
They're the
that
brains of the
is
company.
we're in a world now that evolves so fast that you can't even be taught at a level that, like, by the time you go from entry level to a CEO position, what you learn is no longer relevant. The world changes at such a quick rate that even if you came out of school with an IT job, if you didn't learn from that point and just stayed with that knowledge for 5 years, you're worthless. Everything that you learned is now no longer relevant.
especially as a CEO, because you have so many other duties on a daily basis that,
Yeah.
that you really wouldn't care about what's
So
going on a day-to-day basis
Maybe
with your IT
companies should
department.
start making a new position that is like chief technical officer, like a
Oh,
CEO
oh,
level
yeah.
position.
CTOs
CTO
are all
is
over
the
the
thing.
That's
But
already
for
a-
actual IT stuff, or I thought they just handled like other
No, a
things.
lot of
No, that's
a lot
I
of
did
pen
not think
testing
people had
companies
them.
have CTOs.
Yeah, a lot of big Fortune.
But
yeah.
it's not.
But I
know
want
from
to.
places.
I just want to point out a little trick here. If you're going for a job interview, if they ask you like what do you do if you don't know this problem, and you answer with I Google it, that's what they want to hear. Because we're in a position, especially IT, we're in a position where we're always learning, where everything's always improving. So if you say I just have really good Googling skills, and if I don't know the answer, I'm going to find it on Google. That's going to be what they want to hear.
The trick to being in
that's the
IT
trick.
is not knowing anything; it's having the ability to learn.
No one's going to know everything in
Yeah.
IT.
No.
That's the thing.
every
and
day,
everything you know
But
now
if
is
you have
useless in
if you
5
have
years.
decent Google skills, you will stay current, and that's what companies want.
yeah, absolutely.
All right, guys. Any more comments on this issue?
Yeah, I think that there are different kind of levels of data loss, and some data loss is much more significant than others. For example, in the financial sector, where financial data of people gets exposed, obviously the losses are huge and they're financial. In credit card fraud, as the cases with all the big retailers like Target, TJX, whatever, obviously customers' credit cards got exposed. So
I remember that.
So there were huge financial losses. Some other hacks where customers' data gets exposed, it might be just embarrassment or exposure of personal data, such as in the Ashley Madison case. Maybe they got their credit cards too. So there are different levels, and obviously where the threat is higher of, let's say, financial loss, that should be treated with more vigilance.
And I wonder,
I think there would be a third category in there too. It might actually fall under financial loss, but the Sony hack from last year.
oh yeah.
It was more embarrassing to Sony than any of Sony's users.
Well, that was
the
intellectual
hack was-
private property.
Yeah.
That was, and that's extremely valuable.
Yeah.
So I wonder if something that will develop, which is basically security insurance, like insurance that covers.
There's identity theft insurance.
Yeah,
and
that's
so
only
too,
for
'cause
identity
LifeLock
theft.
gets hacked, you know,
Yeah.
every now and then.
Well,
And
that's not
that's-
identity theft insurance. That's identity theft protection. I mean,
And
like
all these things are just
legitimate
insurance for if your identity itself gets stolen. What if you have like a leak
think.
on a website or something, and people get a hold of things of yours that you don't want them having? Like to that degree, that's a different sort of damage to you, which can't necessarily be monetarily compensated. But people also insure things like life insurance, which isn't really a monetary compensation for something that really is.
how could you even insure
equivalent.
against that? Like,
All you would do is like basically you pay for this insurance, and the company pays you out when stuff happens that's emotionally damaging.
And then, you know what comes after insurance?
What?
Insurance fraud.
Exactly.
I feel like I'd want more than just like if all my passwords got leaked and stuff, then that's a major detriment to my life.
Well, see,
I'd
what would
want
happen
monthly
is
stuff.
you would get paid out, and the insurance company would go after and sue the company that lost that information for you.
That might be okay.
So that sort of insurance might actually be beneficial.
That might be acceptable.
All right, guys. Any other comments on this particular case?
Not at the moment.
All right, then before we transition to our next story, I want to remind everybody that right now we are at the Sin Shop. It is we started the show at 8 o'clock on Friday. We are here every week at the Sin Shop. It's 117 North 4th Street. In our background here, you might see on the live stream that the Darknet badge is being built right now. Or at least they're being provisioned to be built. I think you have to go to the Harbor Hacking Village to actually build it. So that's something to look forward to. DEF CON is 2 weeks away, and you'll want to be there. Oh, hey, Santa Claus is in town. That's pretty early. What's up, Eli?
We have two random walkers.
Christmas in July.
It's Christmas.
I'll
in
be there
July.
as well, of
July.
course.
Santa says hello. We're also doing a live stream, Eli, so you can just say hi.
On YouTube.
Hello, YouTube. See, this is really live.
This is the type of stuff that happens if you ever come down to the Sin Shop. So clearly, now you don't want to come. But
We also-
if you're crazy enough, please do.
Yeah, now before we go
We're
into
a
our next...
special sort of mind out here.
This is why I need to record this. Before we go into our next segment, I want to remind everybody that they can join us in the conversation in IRC. Go to irc.freedom.net. The channel is Gray Noise, but with the 3 in the word. It's going to be pound GR3YNOISE. Oh, and DJ-Jackalope is with us. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm pretty good. How's it going?
Hey, will you be performing at DEF CON with us?
I will be. I'll be playing on Saturday and Friday nights, and I guess coming closer, you guys can actually hear me.
Yeah, there you go.
Hey,
What genre do you play?
I'll probably play in drum and bass, and probably play in. I might play some like kind of tech booty house or some crazy
Tech
chaos.
booty house.
Excellent.
That's
Sounds awesome.
That is
Booty
my
house.
jam.
We're looking forward to it.
Sounds like something I'm into.
It
Yeah,
didn't
so for
exist yet, but now it will.
It sounds like
Oh,
a
wait,
new genre.
I'm sorry, Jackalope, what was that
Yeah, one
website
more
again?
time.
My website it's DJ-Jackalope.com.
All right,
You can
we're
check
gonna
out.
have that. We're gonna have that in the links too for our podcast.
And I'll
So.
have a vendor booth set up too, so get CDs and T-shirts and
awesome.
chaos.
Oh, perfect.
Merch.
Cool, but yeah, definitely hanging out, putting together the Darknet badges, so it's kind of fun.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Jackalope. We'll be seeing you around. So, all right. So let's go into our next topic, which is something I want to bring up, if you guys don't mind again.
Do it.
The
I
Cherokee.
mind.
No, you don't.
But
No, we're talking about the Jeep Cherokee hack. Again, this is Friday. I mean, both these stories
So-
dropped like Tuesday.
so go ahead and recap what's happened.
Okay, so basically, Jeep Cherokee is recalling like a lot of their cars. I think it's like 1.2 million of their cars or their vehicles because they're all hackable. They're all hackable because the 1.4 million. Thank you. And by the way, Zenify is our fact
Is our
checker.
fact checker.
So it's
Fact check for life.
1.4 million vehicles from Jeep Cherokee have been recalled or are being recalled because of this hack.
How?
So what do you mean how?
Like
Well,
how
the hack-
how
or
do you hack
Okay.
it?
So-
I wanna point out that I read an article earlier today that it's not just Jeep Cherokee, it's Fiat Chrysler.
So-
also,
If
Fox.
if you guys know, in the automotive industry, a lot of things are components that are replicated from car to car. So a Jeep Cherokee on its underpinnings is very, very similar to a Dodge Durango. And then those computers that both of them use are also used in several other different cars.
that's
So
why Fiat Chrysler
Yeah.
issued the recall. It's
I'm
for the
sure
2013 to 2015 models, but they said
all of their cars?
But they said that a patch was pushed out over the cellular network, so you most likely don't have to return your car.
Okay, but it's just the fact that, first of all, that it took him this long to realize that there's this bug,
I mean, at
it's
least
kind
2
of funny.
years.
Yeah, and it's just so many of the things are going to be affected on other cars. Like, it's not just the Cherokees.
Now, you call it a bug, but Chen, what does this hack actually do?
Okay, so actually Cheronobyl and I were talking about this earlier, and I have a coworker who's really into cars. I mean, and so I talked to him. I was like, "Hey man, so what do you think about this Jeep Cherokee hack?" And he's like, "Oh, what do you mean?" I was like, "Well, most of these cars are computerized now, so there's." And I told him about the recall and everything, and he was like, "Yeah, well," and honestly, he wasn't surprised. He was like, "Well, cars have been upgraded from a 16-bit computer to now a 32-bit computer, so of course they're holding more information and whatnot." So this hack was able to turn on and off the AC, turn on and off the windshield wipers and the window cleaning mechanism. You were able to actually disable the brakes and turn off the car in the middle of the highway.
Disable
Are
the
you
brakes
sure it was
sounds like a
disable the
pretty big
brakes or disable the ABS?
No, it
No,
was
it was
disable
the
the
brakes.
brakes.
So you could
according
not
to
brake
these
at all,
articles.
but
You
the brake
couldn't-
is a pneumatic system.
you
There's
couldn't
no way
brake
that
at
you
all.
should be able to do that.
It must have been the hydraulic.
According to the article, there was a test group, a reporter and one of the representatives from a car company in a car driving a Jeep Cherokee, and 2 researchers hacked the Jeep Cherokee from 10 miles away, doing all this stuff, including cutting the brakes, and the Jeep Cherokee that they were driving went into a ditch because of it.
That's surprising. I would say that I would really want to investigate that. Go ahead.
Oh, Zenify has a
Zenify, you raise your
correction.
hand?
So they're not actually recalling the vehicles. They're just sending all the customers USB keys.
Okay, they're not recalling the vehicles, they're sending customers USB.
So those
keys.
customers really aren't going to plug those in either. But that's the truth.
They're gonna get lost in the mail.
I would be really surprised if it was actually disabling the brakes, because the brake systems in those cars, at least the ones I've worked on, and I was a mechanic for a bit, the brake actually plunges straight into the brake master cylinder, which is hydraulically linked to the 4-wheel disc brakes. So being able to disable the brake system doesn't make much sense to me, but it might be.
Yeah, I can.
It would make more sense for it to be the ABS, which the ABS handles controlling brakes under adverse conditions.
Yeah, when you slam on the brakes.
When you slam on the brakes.
Yeah.
So I'd be more likely for it to be that. But it's just lucky that the Jeep cars are still relatively mechanical in construction. A lot of cars now are far less mechanical. They use electronic gas pedals and electronic brakes. Go ahead.
I just want to read the article from LATimes.com. The online magazine Wired reported Tuesday that 2 well-known cybersecurity researchers this month took control of the Jeep Cherokee through the car's Uconnect radio. During the experiment, the Wired reporter drove on a St. Louis highway while researchers Charlie Miller and Chris Velasek toyed with the windshield wipers, radio, and accelerator from 10 miles away. At one point, they cut the Jeep's brakes, sending the vehicle into a ditch.
So I guess the car did shift over to electronic pedals then, because they did say they could play with the accelerator.
Yeah, so this was a pretty major, pretty severe thing.
So what I am very surprised at is the fact that their radio system can access the CAN bus network. And in cars, the CAN bus network, it basically handles all of the essential low-level functions. And all of us know from the IT world that you want to separate your low-level network from your high-level network.
Right.
So the fact that the radio, which is a non-essential component of the car, can access the essential running components of the car is surprising. I can tell you that from a personal standpoint, I could blow up that engine given access to the CAN bus network, and it would not be difficult.
This is something that was a little bit of a concern to me. One of the Telefreak talks from last year, this was something that was a little concern to me because it seemed to indicate that there's only one computer in the car, one major computer that controls all the components.
And
which is kind of a single point of failure. Going
back to last week's episode. That's or a central point of failure. Look at that.
The problem is that radio should just not tap into it at all. The radio should
be
not.
completely segregated.
Yeah.
Well, now to add to the story, apparently these 2 security researchers have been working on this for 9 months, and last month is when they did the test with the reporter. Now, the full story is going to be discussed and talked about at Black Hat in 2 weeks. So. Look forward to it.
And then discussed better at DEF CON
later.
It reminds me of the story where a guy claimed that he was able to hack an airplane and somehow, interfere with the flight. So I see a trend of hackers trying to hack into transportation. So it's like
It's
it's
a-
actually pretty evil because it's really dangerous.
I'm not sure if it's evil, but it goes back to the because we can mentality.
Well,
yeah.
People want to try to hack into stuff just to see if they can.
These guys are definitively gray hat. They're doing illegal activity for a good reason.
Yeah, but they did it under control in a controlled environment.
Yeah, and they did it to show how we need change.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing. I'm glad that they did it.
Anybody who tries to hack an airplane though is going to have a kind of a tougher time because there
Yeah.
are a lot of different systems.
Not to
on
mention
there.
the fly-by-wire system on those planes is separate from the other networks.
Yeah, there's-
Technically, you could hack into the GPS system and re-coordinate them, which is possible, but every system is segregated into its own network.
Yeah, there are a lot of systems there. It's not just one central computer.
Yeah, and I've talked with people who have helped design those systems before, and they're very complicated.
You guys were saying something, and I forgot what I wanted to contribute.
Talking
to.
about all the fancy hacks and computerized
I know you guys were
cars.
talking about like multiple systems. I was
You
like,
know,
oh,
this just reminds me of when I first watched Eye Candy, when she hacked the car, but it was through a USB port. But whatever, she did sort of the same thing, and that's. I've been thinking about that the entire time when we were talking about this.
yeah.
Eye candy was real. This
Speaking
whole
of
time.
car, not necessarily hacks, but did you guys hear about the Google car getting into an accident recently?
What? I did not
Okay.
hear
It
about
got rear-ended.
people.
Wait, so it was a human error.
It was
Yeah,
a huge
I read
thing,
about that.
but people were like, "These cars are unsafe."
no,
no.
Even though it was human.
All of
error.
the accidents were the other driver's fault.
Yeah, every
this is
every
only
single
accident.
one.
no, there's been more than one driverless accident, but every time it's been human error.
Someone
Human error. It's a
rear-ended.
human error.
Somebody's been hitting
Yeah.
the cars.
Yeah.
So, fuck this driverless
But people are
car.
like, why didn't the car get out of the way? It's like, how? Well, you want them to go through the intersection and get hit by other cars instead?
This just makes me shake my
Although,
head.
with the
can't
whole
wait for
driverless car
When
system,
driverless cars become a thing, traffic won't ever exist.
and
anymore.
I will be sitting there in my 89 Firebird with manual windows and manual locks and a carbureted engine laughing at
Wait,
everyone.
why?
And
why
then,
wouldn't
and then when a
traffic
driverless
exist?
car makes you angry, you're gonna go.
Traffic won't exist.
Why wouldn't traffic exist with driverless cars?
I think it still
because
will.
if you've ever seen how one of those computer-generated images of how driverless cars will work, they're going to drive a few inches away from each other, but because they all know what each other is doing, they can do that and keep the flow going.
Yeah, but there's
They'll
still
never be
there
stop
are
and
still
go.
things such as the capacity of highways and roadways.
And then
you
in
know?
addition
But
to that,
it'll be more like a stream, like a river.
And they'll-
Everything
and
will
they'll
continue
know
to
that
flow.
because it'll
there
be-
won't be any more accidents to hinder.
but there will
won't be
also
any
be
more
the
speed
manual
traps.
override brakes, which people are going to use to slow down when they get worried about the car.
There will be
And
manual
But
override.
I
And
think
more
more than
human
that,
error.
I think more than the closeness, the car will automatically route you away from traffic. So you'll never see the traffic. If it senses that the highway is congested, it will be like, oh, that place has already got enough cars on it. Let's go this other way.
I think there'll be a moment of transition when driverless cars first start becoming mainstream, where there will be a lot of pushback and a lot of accidents. But once people start trusting in the computers, traffic will be a thing of the past.
I think there would still be traffic, but there would be less traffic, and when you are in traffic, you will be moving faster.
Yeah.
Because what is
Well,
traffic?
that's the
It's
thing.
just,
There will be a lot of cars on the road, but it'll move quickly. It'll
Right.
move like a stream.
Right.
And then there will be
Right.
driverless Uber, which is basically
in 10
everyone's going to
years.
carpool
In 10
with
years, they're gonna do
driverless Uber.
driverless Uber.
Yeah.
See, so now if you're an Uber employee, you do not want to invest in the 401k right now.
Yeah, you really
Because
don't.
you're not going to have a pension. Just saying.
The company's trying to get rid of you.
It's a
I know,
5-year
exactly.
investment. You might get a pension. I don't know.
You know,
I don't know.
you get it. It's a temporary job. So
But it's all interesting with all these different automotive technologies. Like the automotive industry is always well behind on the subjects of computerization. Like the microprocessors didn't really start controlling cars until well after they were invented. But now they're trying to catch up desperately, and they're kind of not thinking about it right.
well, we'll see. We'll see about that. All right. So does anybody else have any topics? Now, I'm sorry. Before we go to the next topic, again, I want to remind everybody we are at 117 North 4th Street in the heart of downtown Las Vegas. We're 2 weeks away from DEF CON. We had Miss Jackalope come up here and talk about her spot. We'll have that link in the descriptions down below.
Yeah, that'll be on the website.
Yep. So okay. Any other topics? Because if not,
I just want to get your guys' opinion. I read something recently about a collaboration between Boeing and a hacking team, where they want to develop drones that fly around, connect to other computers via ad hoc Wi-Fi or man-in-the-middle type deals where you go to a website and it's like, oh, verify your information. And it'll send malware remotely to a computer via hacking drone, basically. What do you guys think of that idea?
Remember?
Why not?
Yeah, welcome to the future where the wars are fought in computers. Like, you don't need to bomb a city if you can erase their entire, like,
Infrastructure.
Yeah.
Just see you later, money.
goodbye your entire economy.
Delete all the banks.
It's all in Swiss accounts.
And you know, I think, of course, it's gonna cyber warfare is going to save a lot more lives. I think. I mean, it could destroy some, of course, but it'll save a lot more lives.
It'll destroy a lot.
Well, it'll destroy a lot, but I think it'll also save a lot.
I feel like a lack of money in an entire country will kill a lot more people than.
Honestly, what I think is going to happen is it's going to be similar to the show Battlestar Galactica, where everyone starts getting more and more dependent on the computers and more, and then all of a sudden the computers, it's not going to be like Battlestar where they turn on you, but it will get to a point where people discover that they can be hacked, and the hacker wars start, and then people start reverting back to non-computerized technology.
They were talking about that on the Nerdist podcast actually 2 days ago.
So we're going to go back to everyone having
Security by obscurity.
We'll see about that. Vic, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, this has been going along for a long time. Back in the late 80s, during the Cold War, we actually sold PBXs to Poland that we could turn off remotely in case we needed to. So it's nothing new. The government wants this. They always have. They've always acted on it.
Now, do you think this might be why they're anti-encryption all of a sudden? Because these encrypted Wi-Fi networks could stop these hacking drones.
All of a sudden, you think the government all of a sudden has stopped wanting encryption?
Okay, not all of a sudden, but it's been in the news a lot more recently.
Okay. We got to clarify right there.
But yeah, I think that there will be a period of probably 10 years where everything is very technological. We have a lot of drones fighting wars, and then there will be the war where hackers rule the war, and then everyone will be back to using manual. Yeah, you know, the KGB already is using typewriters.
Smart.
I don't think they ever stopped using it.
No. There was a period where they used computers, and they got rid of all computers for correspondence. They only use typewriters now.
I honestly,
The KGB doesn't exist anymore, so I'm not sure.
You're right, it's technically
I'm not sure what you're
called now.
talking
It's a
about.
GSP.
The Russian FSB.
FSB, that's what
FSB, whatever it was.
I don't think people will revert to typewriters. I don't think it'll be that drastic.
Well, I don't think normal people
unless there's like a huge fall.
I don't think normal people will, but I think that war will go through a period of all being drones, and then go through a period where it's back to all manual.
I think before that there'll be a period where people start to embrace encryption.
Yeah.
There are encryptions so far that haven't been broken, like elliptical curve encryption has not been broken.
That only exists until quadratic computing, or until we get those computers to go, and then all encryption's gone.
And quantum computing could break
quantum, not
encryption.
quadratic. Once we get quantum
Theoretically,
computing, literally all encryptions are gone instantaneously.
Right, yeah. That's something to look forward to.
Yeah.
Now, I want to go back to something that Doxy was kind
all of our current technology for encryption. Anything math-based.
And if they keep it secret that they have those quantum computers, then no one knows that they have the ability to crack all of ours. And only a quantum computer can create a key that could be protected against a quantum computer.
I want to go back to
Cheronobyl put on his tinfoil hat.
Yes.
I want to go back to something that Doxy was saying earlier. Is like, you can erase an infrastructure and cause a lot of damage. But the point, though, is that if instead of bombing, like let's say instead of bombing a building, which the building would have to be rebuilt. If you take care of an infrastructure, though, the building's still there, and then money is just an idea. The economy is just an idea, supply and demand.
But then,
so even though it can be destroyed and erased, it can also be rebuilt faster than, let's say, an entire city. Yeah, it can. Yes, it can.
I would argue.
Why do you invest in silver?
I would argue
only if
that.
it's a
I would
fiat
argue
currency.
That's a fiat currency.
Only in fiat currencies, yes. But in those fiat currencies,
He's talking about if you delete banks. No.
No, that would be devastating to a country because that country would have to be bought up by another country. I would assume.
If you honestly believe that, you wouldn't be investing in silver right now.
No, the reason why I invest in silver is because I am banking on it.
the point is, if he invests in silver, his money is no longer controlled by hacking. He has a hard value currency that has a literal transitional value.
But he just said if banks crash, it won't be that big of a deal.
It would be.
I didn't say it wouldn't be that
It
big
would
a
be
deal. I'm
huge.
saying though, if a building is destroyed, it would take some time to rebuild. Now, yeah, it would take some time to rebuild infrastructure, but you still have.
Imagine if I deleted all of your bank records. And what is the bank going to do? Try to randomly assume what money you had before?
If you delete bank records, you are essentially digitally assaulting the earth of the land.
Exactly. If I deleted the entire bank records of the country, that country does not know who has what amount of money at all anymore.
Or debt.
Or debt.
Or debt.
Which is good for some and bad for others.
Yeah, all people see is the debt. They're like, oh, I have no more debt. That's awesome. You also have no more
Money.
anything. Yeah.
So how are you going to assign to who what money they get? Your country still clearly has the money, theoretically.
But you have nothing.
You and all the people in the country have nothing.
You, your friends, your neighbors, your stores, no money.
Are you saying you're very communist? Or you want to level everyone?
No, that's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying though is, initially, or the bottom line though is that money as a currency is just an idea.
It's an idea that we live on, and,
Yeah.
and like I said, okay, death obviously being killed is devastating, but not being able to live, but is also quite devastating.
I mean,
It's almost
it's
better
as
to
much
die.
as an
Right.
idea. It's as much of an idea as my age is an idea. I mean, yeah, my age.
Honestly, the only
might
reason
be,
why I know how old you are is because we went to school
Well, I'm just saying.
together.
I'm just saying. My age might be
I still don't know
described
Doc's
by.
age.
My
I mean, I
age might be
do.
described by a
you'll
number,
never-
but I
you'll
am
never know.
still that age. I've
Yeah.
still lived that many years.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, my bank account might just be described by a number, but that's how I live.
that's how I
also.
live.
That's,
Not
It's
just
that's
that,
everything.
but imagine that country's foreign relations now. Imagine their ability
They have-
they can't pay their military anymore, so they don't have actual defense.
they have no more power in the world anymore. They are automatically
Devastated. They're gone.
They are done.
They are Greece.
So their only option is to then assign arbitrary point values to everyone's economic status and issue them currency based on that. You've essentially created a country that is useless for 15 years at
At
the
least.
least.
Honestly,
At least.
I have this weird feeling that Hughesby's going to pop up under this table and just shout about bitcoins.
Yeah,
Just like descends from the ceiling. Bitcoin.
yeah.
like Mission Impossible.
Uppercut to the table. Bitcoin.
He just goes back up and we just don't see him again for like 2 years.
All right, guys. I do believe it is now time for the lightning round.
Do it.
All right.
How fast
Did you
am I?
preload
Wait,
this one?
what
no, I
about
didn't.
Simon's segment?
Let's do Simon
Okay,
segment.
yeah.
Yeah, let's see what this is.
All right, so Simon's segment is a segment where I pick a topic that I find to be interesting. Today the topic is escape of El Chapo from prison. El Chapo is a very notorious Mexican drug lord. He's the chief of the Sinaloa drug cartel, and this is his second prison escape in 15 years. He was on the run for a long time after his first escape, and he got arrested about 18 months ago. So he's been in the most secure prison in Mexico, the Altiplano Federal Prison, for about 18 months, and he escaped. So one day he went about 9 p.m. He went to the shower and disappeared. So then they found out what happened later, and basically they dug a 1 mile tunnel to his prison cell, and on one end it was a half-built house, and on the other hand it was the shower space in his prison cell. So what is interesting about this in terms of security? Well, the tunnels are pretty interesting, and El Chapo has been the king of tunnels in drug trafficking across the Mexican border, and he's actually been a pioneer of the use of tunnels. So that's one aspect, but that's not the most interesting aspect to me. The most interesting aspect to me is human security. Why? Because that all the cells. This is the most secure prison in Mexico. All of the cells are under 24-hour surveillance by video, and also the cells are supposed to be regularly checked by prison guards at very frequent intervals. So also supposedly they got some equipment from the Americans that x-ray the ground, and they were supposed to notice that there was something going on in terms of tunnel building activity. Well, it becomes very obvious that he could not escape without human assistance from someone inside the prison. So from the security point of view, the bottom line is that the human factor is always the weakest link in your security operation. Because because basically you can't bribe code, you can't bribe a robot, you can't threaten a piece of code with death. And in Mexico, in the Mexican drug trade, there is this saying in Spanish, and it goes plata o pluma. So that means silver or lead, and that is the motto of how the drug traffickers there operate. When they need human assistance, whether that be corrupting government officials or really anyone, they come to you and they say silver or lead. And imagine if you had the capacity to make anyone rich, well, by your country's standards, so that would be silver, and also the capacity to basically execute in the most atrocious manner the whole family. Is there anything you wouldn't do? So your security is only as good as the human element in your security. This has been the Simon segment. Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think maybe he might either be a mole man or can walk through walls, to be
Well,
honest.
the thing with that too, though, is that all security is just a question of time or money. If anyone has infinite of either resource, they will always get into your system. Because you can't make something that's completely unpenetratable. You just got to make something that's hard and so expensive that it's not worth it.
It's kind of like last week, and now we had one of our friends mention that clusters was one of our friends on IRC, Dirkman. He mentioned that clusters were a security method to behind single points of failure. And I remember mentioning at some point last episode that one of the single points of failure could be someone in a prominent position.
Yeah.
And that goes along with there's always
Absolutely.
the weakest link is usually a person. Not always, but usually.
The human element.
Well, when you think about it, even something like a SQL injection was a human error.
Yep.
Yep.
All right, so are we going counterclockwise? I want Chernobyl to go first.
Okay, we're gonna go counterclockwise. Now, we're gonna do the lightning round. Now, for those of you who don't know what the lightning round is, basically we do a lot of discussion here, and then we do a little bit of news. We touch on the headlines, but we want to give you the headlines so that you can do your own research and come up with your own opinion. So
It's going to be funny with me going first because I've been like out of the world for a
Well,
month.
here you go. Here's your
this
first
is why I
surprise.
want to do that.
All right, you ready? Here we go. Introducing 93 gigabit high-speed Tor-like encrypted network.
Sounds like a whole lot of porn.
Boring.
I like porn.
Wait till quantum computers come out. Let's see how encrypted it is.
Well, we'll see. The dark web, which I didn't realize this, but the dark web is so much bigger than the surface web. I know people know this. I didn't know this, but I find that to be really interesting. Anyway, next, RCS Android, Advanced Android Hacking Tool, leaked online.
Not surprising.
I need that. What?
Is that like is that like Metadroid, the Metasploit version of
Oh, yeah.
for Android?
Probably, or Droid's
Droidsploit,
or something.
yeah.
Maybe I'll have to look. I'll have to
Desploit.
read more into
Desploit.
the headline.
What?
Oh yeah, Desploit. That's what it was. Okay, next one. Oh gosh, 4 zero-day vulnerabilities found disclosed in Internet Explorer. Even the article's sarcastic. Oh
Good
gosh.
job, Microsoft.
Okay, now this is a serious question. Does anyone know how many vulnerabilities have been discovered in Internet Explorer in all of the versions since inception. I really want
I
to know.
never learned how to count that out.
Has anyone ever used Internet Explorer that actually listens to this podcast?
I use it to download Chrome and Firefox.
Because if you do,
most
you
of
might
our,
want to stop.
one of our key demographics for this podcast are newcomers. So
Even
most
newcomers don't use IE. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm probably the youngest one here, and I am from a younger generation. Everyone that I knew in school, no one even that I knew ever used Internet Explorer. Even in public school, no one used IE. Everyone used a different browser.
Good on them.
Well, at least what's it called Edge is coming out soon. In a couple of weeks.
I'm gonna call it Spartan.
Spartan turned into Edge.
I'm gonna call it Spartan.
So Internet Explorer is done and gone in a couple of weeks anyway.
Oh, there you go.
They needed to
At
have a new
least,
name.
at least from Windows 10. Not everybody's going to have Windows 10, but since
Everybody
it's free,
should have Windows 10.
Since it's free, most people are.
Yeah.
All right, guys. Next, WordPress 4.2.3 security update released. Patches critical vulnerability. Now I know. Go ahead, Cheronobyl.
What happened? What did I miss?
Well, so BGM was always making a comment that WordPress is in the news weekly as being vulnerable. So,
Yeah, this is very similar to the Internet Explorer news.
I mean, see, the thing that I was surprised about was that this was news.
no, it's
I
not
guess
news.
it's
I think
news
it's
that they're
news that
trying
they
to
patched
patch
the
it.
vulnerability. Yeah.
Attempting.
Doxy?
Nope.
Just nope.
I figure if I add one step, if I show one more step to my WordPress's vulnerable dance every week, by the time, in 5 or 6 weeks, you're going to have a full dance going on.
Sounds pretty cool.
Yeah.
All right, bro. Earlier
So
this
far it's like this. WordPress is vulnerable. And then we'll see where it goes from next week.
Sounds pretty surprising.
All right. Well, earlier this week it was OpenSSL. This time it is OpenSSH. Bug in OpenSSH opens Linux machines to password cracking attack.
Oh.
Well, they're definitely very open.
Time to some update upgrades.
And create some keys.
People should just have stronger passwords.
Yeah.
And that is the end of the lightning round.
I mean, if your password's not dictionary-based, a dictionary-based password cracker won't crack
Yeah,
it.
you should be
Even
fine.
Rainbow standards won't.
Just throw an exclamation point.
So, okay, now before we close out, I want to remind everybody one more.
Oh, I do want to mention something that Hughesby mentioned last week after the show that I thought was a pretty cool idea. When looking at people's passwords, one of the most common things that they noticed was that nobody begins their password with a space. So maybe you could start that.
That
might
is
be
a
good-
really cool idea.
Will some services allow you to do that? Though? We'll see.
Any service that allows a symbol should.
Okay, so
Wait, I want to do a shout out to my mom.
all right,
Hi, Mom.
all right. Now we're gonna close out the segment. We kind of have to now because we're running out of time.
Way over time.
Yeah, well, it is what it is.
What
we're
is the
live
time
streaming now.
supposed to
When
be?
we wanted this
About
podcast to
an
be
hour?
45 minutes.
I remember when we wanted it to be 30 minutes.
That's not happening.
An hour is
Okay,
too long.
really quick before we get out of here, I want to let everybody again remind you guys 117 North 4th Street in the heart of downtown Las Vegas. Miss Jackalope will get that link, so she'll be performing at DEF CON, as I do believe she does every year. She's been helping with the Darknet badges. To get more about the Darknet badges, go to dcdark.net. We are at Grey Noise, GREYNOI.SE. I think that's an easier URL to remember. So one more thing too, look out for our next peer-to-peer segment. I actually had a really cool interview with somebody who helps edit Mr. Robot, so that might be something that listeners might be interested in. So, my name is Master Chen,
My name is BGN.
This is Doxy.
Simon.
And I've been Chernobyl.
and this is Grey Noise, where our news,
Where
our noise
is
news.
We'll get it one day.
Yeah,
It'll
We're
happen.
working on it.
All right, guys. Have a good night.
Thanks for listening and watching.
That's not cheesy. Shut up.
It was cheap.